financial argument. Follow us on YouTube.
Let's get into the economic collapse, political and geopolitical news. Now, as we can see, the repeal of Obamacare, that didn't go over very well. And we see that those individuals that are in line with the healthcare industry, well, they don't want to let this go. Now, Obamacare, and we've been following this for a very long time, it's imploding on itself. I mean, the co-ops, the exchanges, they're all going bankrupt. There's no question that that is happening because we've been following it. We know that the insurance companies, they've been leaving. We know there's less and less people joining Obamacare. It's too expensive. They'd rather take the penalty. We also understand that the insurance companies are going to need a bailout. Remember, there was a clause in Obamacare where they get this bailout. Now, Trump knows this, and we know that the new health care bill, they wanted to add another something like $70 billion onto that because that would equal about $170 billion to the insurance companies. And it looks like there's going to be no bailouts for the insurance company. He is threatening right now, saying, listen, if we don't repeal this bill, we're not bailing out the insurance companies. Now remember, the insurance companies wrote this bill. Why do you think they have a bailout clause? Why should the taxpayers bail out the insurance companies? Because they decided to make everything expensive. Think about it. They put this plan into action along with certain individuals who also got paid off, and their plan didn't work, and they want the taxpayers to pay for this. This was not failing because of Trump. This was failing because it wasn't a benefit to the people. If it was so incredible, so fantastic, guess what? When it was initially released, everyone in government would have taken it. Or it would have been mandatory that they dump whatever they have and they must take this. Isn't it amazing that they voted on something and they're still doing it where they don't have to take it? Where they can keep what they have? Actually, they should have been the first individuals who said, I just took this plan and shown it and saying, this is a good system. This is a good plan. This is what everyone should get, but they didn't do it. They exempted themselves. That was because this was not good for the people. That's it. Plain and simple. We see that Trump right now with Scaramucci, they are cleaning house in the Trump administration. Now remember, a lot of Republicans hate Trump. A lot of Democrats hate Trump. Not saying Trump is a savior or anything like this. The corporate media hates him. The deep state hates him. Pretty much almost everyone hates him, except for, the millions and millions of people that voted for him who wanted him in there. Plus the good individuals who are in government trying to reverse everything the deep state has done. They are trying to push the agenda and they're continually gaining more ground. And if you notice, there are a lot of wealthy people in government. Feinstein, Obama was wealthy in government, McCain, they all take salaries. Trump does not take a salary. He's a wealthy individual. Scaramucci is a wealthy individual. He doesn't take a salary. He could be earning $179,000 a year. He's not taking a salary. Feinstein is worth millions. She's still taking a salary. Clinton's worth millions. They took salaries. A lot of individuals in government who are taking salaries. But if you notice, these individuals who are trying to do what's right, they decide, you know what? We don't need more money. We don't need to take the salary. Let's give it back. And what we're seeing now is there are many different investigations going on. And we can see that James A. Baker, the FBI General Counsel, well, it looks like he might be under investigation by the Department of Justice. Why? For allegedly leaking classified national security information to the media. They are looking at him, Jeff Sessions now, where Trump kept on nudging and nudging and nudging, saying now it's time to get this off the ground. And this was almost like a call out to the deep state, we are coming for you. And I know the corporate media is out there. Oh, Trump wants to get rid of him. They want to send him to DHS. I think this was a war cry saying, here we come. Because you can see that there's a huge shakeup now. They got rid of Comey, got rid of a lot of other people. Priebus. I think there's going to be a lot more that's going to happen. And we can see right now that the House Judiciary, they are looking at a special counsel to investigate Comey, Lynch, and Clinton. And they just had a vote, and Trey Gowdy was one in there, and he voted yes. We need to get a special counsel. We need to appoint this special counsel to look into Comey, Lynch, the Obama administration, and Clinton. Now, what are they looking at? Well, they're going to be looking at Loretta Lynch directing Mr. Comey to mislead the American people on the Clinton investigation. They're also going to look at Clinton, Secretary Clinton, and her involvement in mishandling classified information. They're going to be looking at the FBI and the Department of Justice investigative decisions related to Clinton's email investigation. They're going to be looking into Comey. They're going to be looking into many, many other things, one of them being the Clinton Foundation, which includes Russia and Ukraine, where there are other foreign entities using the Clinton Foundation to give her and Bill money. And there's a whole list of many different things that they're going to be looking into. So right now, we can see that the deep state, they're being pushed into a corner. They're cowering right now. They're very nervous and afraid. And I personally don't think this is going to stop. I think we're going to see a lot more happening. And again, the deep state, are they just going to sit back? No. They're doing whatever they possibly can to fight this in the only way they know how, to start a war. And they're trying to use their influence, and they still have a lot of influence in government. They still have a lot of rogue individuals in many different departments that are still feeding information to Trump to get him to do something completely different than what he really wants to do. Because when you receive that intelligence information, you have to look at it and say, is this true? Isn't this true? And I think in the beginning, where he said he wasn't going to be listening to intelligence agencies, he knew at that point that was completely corrupt and they were working for the deep state. And this is why he came out and pretty much went on that path. And he tried many different things, and I think many individuals within government are trying many things. And I think the two factions, the good guys, the bad guys, they are battling right now, and it's really coming out into the open. A lot of people don't understand what's happening, because if you think about it, the deep state, they're losing ground all throughout the Middle East. Nothing's happening in Venezuela. Nothing's happening in North Korea. I mean, they want you to think that something's happening, but really, it's not what they want. They want something to happen dramatically where we can bring troops in, because that's all they know. All they know is to basically go into a country and conquer it. If they're not doing that, nothing is happening for them. So we see out in Venezuela, we understand they've ordered family members to leave Venezuela. Canada is doing the same. And we can see that the intelligence agencies are out there making it seem like something's going to happen in Venezuela. We see North Korea, they fired another missile. And of course, the Pentagon and the South Korean military is out there saying, yes, this is an ICBM. Oh my God, the missile now can reach, Chicago. And, they're going to continually do this. But once again, the deep state, they're trying to build all of this up with these fantastic headlines of scaremongering, fear-mongering. Now, of course, South Korea, the United States, they flew B-1B bombers. Japanese F-2 fighters were there. The South Korean F-15 fighters were there. And basically the deep state was flexing their muscles, saying, yeah, we're just going to be flying them around here to show North Korea that you better not do anything. Now, what's very interesting is that Russia, now, they monitor the entire area. They have their early warning systems. They monitor every missile that South Korea, North Korea, and all the other countries around that area fire. And they looked at the data, and they said this is not an intercontinental missile. It's an RBM, an IRBM. That is an intermediate range ballistic missile. And basically, this cannot hit Chicago. Now, North Korea is out there, and they're, of course, banging their chest saying, don't have regime change here. We already have the technology. That's what they want everyone to believe, because they know what's coming. Remember, they saw what happened in Libya. They saw what happened in Syria. They saw what happened in Ukraine, what happened in Iraq. They've seen this before. This is nothing new. And he's looking at Libya and saying, well, don't get rid of your nuclear weapons because look what happened to Libya. And then the United States and NATO and the rest invaded Libya. And we already know from Coates that Kim Jong-un, he's not crazy. He knows exactly what is happening. He knows that if he gets rid of his nuclear weapons or he stops this, the deep state is going to try to get in there and replace him. He knows this. And what we're looking at, Dan Coates, he understands that this is exactly what is going to happen. This is why Dan Coates came out and said, listen, he's not crazy. He understands what's going on here. Now, Trump is out there and he's looking towards China saying, oh, you're not doing a good job. And I personally, at this point, think this is a stall tactic. I think they're battling the deep state. They know that Kim Jong-un is not going to fire a missile into China, fire a missile into Russia, into South Korea. He's not going to fly a missile into the United States. This is just not going to happen. They're not going to attack anyone. And I think Trump realizes this. He puts this out there saying China's not doing a great job. This way he can just blame China is not doing it. And actually, without him really doing anything. Now, Nikki Haley is out there. She's completely a part of the deep state. And she's saying that talk time is over. Because remember, the deep state, they have red lines. They have black and white. They want to attack because they know the window is closing right now. The window of getting in there is closing, and they only have a certain amount of time. Now, we can see the deep state, they are pushing their agenda everywhere. Remember, they came out with a story that Russia is arming the Taliban in Afghanistan. And we know that really this is not true. This is a fake story that they put out there to convince everyone and hopefully convince Trump with this intelligence to get troops into Afghanistan. Now, I think Trump at this point realizes that they're full of it. And this is why he's saying that, we're not sending anyone just yet. I want to look at why we've been in there for 17 years. Now, why do they want to get back into Afghanistan so badly? Well, because Russia and all the other different factions, including the Taliban, they are working on a peace deal. Pakistan is going to be involved in this because Pakistan borders Afghanistan. So they're getting all the stakeholders together. They've already had a couple of meetings, and they're trying to work out a peace deal. And Russia and Pakistan, they have a common interest in bringing peace to this area, and including the Taliban and the rest. Now, remember, Afghanistan has a lot of minerals. They have a lot of natural resources. And the deep state wants to keep control of this. Yes, they have the poppy fields where the CIA uses this for covert operations as they sell it across the globe as opium. They want to keep all of this. And this is why they need to get in there sooner than later. This is why they want Trump to send a lot more troops. Because they need to basically keep control of all of this. Now, they're pushing their case as hard as they possibly can, and they're publicizing this story through the corporate media, giving him intel reports, because a lot of people still in the intelligence community are part of the deep state. They want him to go in there. So, of course, they're playing the Russia card that they're arming the Taliban, and we need to get in there very, very soon, or else there's going to be peace. And there's no reason for the U.S. to stay in Afghanistan if there's peace. And this is what they're fighting against. So the window is closing in North Korea, the window is closing in Afghanistan, and we see out in Syria, the window is closing there, and Russia and Syria are moving closer and closer to victory. We see Russia is inviting all the BRIC nations to unite against terrorism. Unite against the paid mercenaries of the deep state. That means they're not going to support them. That means they're going after them. And remember, the BRICS, they are part of this new economic system. The main international group is Brazil, Russia, India, China, and South Africa. And there's a lot of major emerging economies that are part of this. And you have to remember that the 5 major emerging economies, they constitute about half of the world's population and 30% of the global economic output. And we see at this point that all these things happening at once, well, they are surrounding and basically closing the window everywhere on the deep state, the bad guys. Now we see the Senate, they push through a bill where they're going to add more sanctions to Russia and Iran. Now the bill passed by 98-2. This is pretty much a veto-proof bill. Now it's going to head to Trump's desk. Doesn't matter what he does at this point, because if he vetoes it, they're still going to put it through. And we see at this point that Trump does have a decision, and this is actually going to benefit Russia, because Europe has already said, listen, if you do this, this is going to hurt our countries. Corporations here in America saying, if you do this, this is going to hurt our sales across the world. And this is already done, no matter what Trump does. I think maybe he's trying to figure out something else. Maybe he has a Trump card, no pun intended. Maybe he has something else to play. But when this does happen, these countries, Germany and the rest, they will move closer to Russia and further away from the United States. So we can see that whatever they're doing, all these sanctions, they're going to backfire. Now, Russia has already come out and said that, yes, 755 U.S. diplomats, they're going to leave Russia. Now, the reason for this is that they're getting rid of these operatives inside of Russia. This is part of the deep state. And I believe that Trump and Russia, this was an agreement. They want to clean house right now and bring in other individuals. Because remember, over time, the deep state intelligence officers, they've infiltrated many of these offices. And right now, this is being used to clean house at this point. We see Syria and Russia, they are holding a Navy parade off the waters of Tartus. This is the port in Syria. And they're showing that, listen, Russia's going nowhere, Syria's going nowhere, and we're going to be here for a very long time. We see the deep state, well, again, they're not giving up in what they're doing. They're not done just yet. We're getting reports that the deep state is still funding the moderate rebels in Russia, and they're still training them. We're getting reports from a spokesman from the Al-Umari Brigade where they're saying, yes, this is still happening. Funds are coming in from other areas. And we can see that they don't want to give this up. They're still pushing their agenda in Syria. They're still pushing their agenda in North Korea. Now, what we need to worry about at this point is how far are they going to take it? Because they see the windows closing right now, which tells me that they might try some type of an event. Now, remember, Congress normally goes on break in August. And strange things normally occur during this period of time while the government is on vacation. We've seen it every single year, 2013, 2014, 2015, 2016. It always happens in the month of August. Now, we can see that they're trying to push something in North Korea. We can see they're trying to push something out in Afghanistan. We can see they're trying to push something out in Syria. And they're going to have this opportunity right now to do something. So we have warnings in many different areas. They want people to leave the areas because something might occur. They're telling people in North Korea to get out, Venezuela to get out. That's another hot spot. And we can see once we start having these warnings a couple of months ahead of time, we know that something is about to happen. So these are the hot spots. We can see the deep state. They're not finished. But right now, the good guys who need to do all this, because we need to take back everything that they stripped us of, because after the transition, we need to build America up again. We can't have a war-mongering country. It will not work in this changing world. And the world is changing very, very quickly, away from empire building to economic and bilateral trade agreements, working with countries instead of invading countries, instead of having regime-changing countries and forcing what you want these countries to do. So we need to watch the deep state. We're coming up to a very critical period.